What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. In this episode, we'll be previewing the Port Adelaide Collingwood game. Let's get into it. So, Saturday afternoon, Collingwood take on Port Adelaide in maybe the game of the round. I'm looking at the other games. The Geelong Carlton game probably has a shout for game of the round, but nothing really else. This is going to be a huge game, not only because of what we were able to do to Geelong, but because of what Port Adelaide were able to do to Brisbane. Just quickly to touch on Port Adelaide before we kind of really get into it. In that second half, Port Adelaide put something crazy like 90 points to Brisbane's 40 or something, just in those last two quarters. So we have got our work cut out for us, but let's break it down. I'm going to be honest, and at the start of the year, I really didn't have this game penciled in for one of the big clashes for Collingwood. We know Port Adelaide and Collingwood have a lot of history, mainly the Prison Bar debacle, but look, I didn't have this penciled in as, you must go and watch. Everything's a must watch, but this is like, I didn't know this was going to be such a huge hitter. What we did to Geelong, what they were able to do to Brisbane, it just sets this up for just a really, really, not only big clash, but one of those like, okay, are we serious? Or are Port serious? What is this going to look like for the rest of our season? What is it going to shape? Now, we were very, very good against Geelong for the most part. We put 8 unanswered goals against them. They weren't, or no other team did that last season. The last season, the longest run on goal streak that they had was 7 unanswered goals, and that was by us back in round 3. So we have this ability to score a lot of goals in a row, which is obviously very nice. But the one thing that I mentioned in the review of that game was just Collingwood's, pushing up forward high. That sort of high risk football. So pushing up forward really high and then not pushing back quick enough. And Geelong were very much outnumbering us in that counter attack. Most of the times they had 2 or 3 or 4 even players in there attacking 50 against our sort of one defense. So I think who said it? I can't remember which commentator said it, but it's very much Russian roulette football where it's high risk, high reward. Not that Russian roulette is high reward. It's definitely high risk, but it's very much that sort of, run, which is, it looks beautiful, that attacking football. But then if you're not defensive minded, especially like we weren't in that first half, that will just eat you on the counter attack like Geelong were able to do. Port Adelaide, on the other hand, went up against a Brisbane Lions team who not only added to their midfield depth, but a lot of media commentators had them winning the premiership or, having a really good start to the season. And I know it's only round 1 and you can't really judge who's going to win a premiership in round 1, but what they were just able to dismantle the Lions. And I don't think anyone really, I haven't checked the tips and who tipped Port Adelaide or not, but I don't think anyone really saw it coming. I definitely didn't see this result coming, especially because Brisbane kind of had a stranglehold in that second quarter. They were starting to pile on the goals and are looking like a bit of a well-oiled machine like we know they are. But then all of a sudden, on the eve of half-time, Port Adelaide kick a goal and then they just kind of take off. And Brisbane kicked 3 goals in the second half to Port Adelaide's 13 goals, which is absolutely nuts, especially for a Brisbane team. But, kudos to Port Adelaide. They just wanted it more. And you can see here, they were more dominant across the ground. They had 33 more contested possessions, 15 more ground ball gets, and 9 more clearances. And they just outscored the Lions from stoppage clearances. So they are in and under in that contest. That's where the game is going to be won and lost. We know we haven't been a good clearance side. If they were able to score all these goals from stoppage clearances and just have that more sort of battle on the ground, this is going to be a very, very difficult game for us. When you look at Port Adelaide though, Zach Butters, Connor Rose, Jason Horne-Francis now, they got Charlie Dixon down there, Georgiadis, and Lockie Jones, like just to name a few. They are a really good team on paper, and I wouldn't be discounting what they can do against us, especially at the MCG, especially with this prison bar debacle that just went on, especially with Jason Horne-Francis now. And look, of course, Travis Boak might even play in this game. He's ripped them ready for round 2, he reckons. And just like Tommy Hawkins, we always get the injured stars back for our game. I said that this game is going to be run and lost sort of in that sort of clearance area, but when you look at what Port did to Brisbane in their forward line, in Port's forward line, Brisbane had a shorter sort of back line. They outmarked Brisbane 24-6 inside 50. Now, without Howe, that puts up a bit of a challenge for us, right? So I'm recording this on a Tuesday afternoon, so I don't know what the teams look like yet, but we know that we don't have Howe, and the only viable option right now is Billy Frampton with Nathan Murphy in the team. Nathan Murphy doesn't lose his spot now. Howe's out for up to 3 months or whatever it may be. Billy Frampton is that next guy up because, like I said, those talls, Georgiades, Sam Powell-Pepper in there as well, Charlie Dixon, they are going to be a really big test for what our back six can do. We talked about storylines in last week's game. Now, the biggest, one of the biggest storylines going into this game is this will be the first time that Jason Horne-Francis and Nick Daicos come up against each other. Now, obviously, picks 1 and, pick 4, and we know that Nick Daicos should have been pick 1. We see that now. But Jason Horne-Francis, in a new team, he absolutely looked the goods from what I saw in the highlights and the KO mini match as well. Dominated on the ground. And it's just the rejuvenation of him now. You can put these Kangaroos behind him, and now he's, cemented as a Port Adelaide player. I don't think we will see Daicos and Horne-Francis go up against each other directly. It would be nice just to see a couple of tackles here and there because we know that's what everyone wants. But, like I said, it's going to be the first time that they're playing against each other, and that's just another little sweetener into this game. Like I said, I'm recording this before any of the teams come out, so the only Jeremy Howe I see coming out, Billy Frampton coming back in. I see no other changes. Reef McInnes, I think he might still be that sort of super sub because I loved what he did. 2 goals, nearly kicked 3, was a presence in that forward line. I don't see anyone really coming out for him. And I know you're going to tell me in the comments, Will Hoskin-Elliott. Will Hoskin-Elliott is a bit of an anomaly, right? In the first half, he had 12 disposals. 8 of those were clangers or something like that. So he didn't go very well. At the end of the game, he went 50% at disposal efficiency. What Will is able to do is he can get himself in good positions. He can take good marks. Just his decision making lets him down a little bit, but he provides us a lot of run, a lot of width as well. Just play him as a really high half forward. You got Bobby Hill coming in. You got Bo McCreary coming in. Maybe you put Reef in instead of Will Hoskin-Elliott and Will Hoskin-Elliott as a sub, but I don't see Craig McRae and the coaches dropping Hoskin-Elliott just because he brings so much more than his clangers to the team. And it's not really something that you will see on the TV, but when I was there at the game, especially in that second half, you see him popping up in spots where you don't really see, you need that sort of bird's eye view. So I don't see him coming out of the team, and I don't see many changes besides Billy Frampton coming in for Jeremy Howe. My big call for this game is that our forward line is going to be let off the leash a little bit. I know last week, 125 points, our highest scoring. I don't think we'll get that high, but I think Mychek and Dan McStay are going to probably kick 3 goals each. Now, my prediction. It's going to be a close one. I see this game being probably more close than the Geelong game. I know I said Collingwood by 10 points last week against Geelong. I do think we're going to win this. I think it's going to be a tough, it's going to be an arm wrestle for the whole entire game, like it pretty much was last year if you cast your minds back to that game as well. I see us winning by about 14 or 15 points. But look, this has just been my quick preview of the game. Just want to share my thoughts, etc. is what I always do. Be on the lookout. I will be sharing a screen with my boy, The Pair, coming up later on this week. We're going to talk everything Port Adelaide, everything Collingwood, and everything this game on Saturday. But until then, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know who you think's going to win, how much they're going to win by, what we need to do to beat Port Adelaide. Any and all of your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets, and until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.